Hi, my name is Alfred Hampton. I worked my whole life, saved every penny, and finally bought my dream home to enjoy my retirement in peace. But on a housewarming day, my own daughter and her husband kicked me out like I was a stranger. No warning, no mercy, just cold betrayal. I thought I was buying peace, a quiet ending. Instead, I had just funded my own exile. The keys to the new house were warm in my palm, but they felt foreign, like they belonged to someone else. I stood at the edge of the marble foyer, staring at the high ceilings and spotless walls, trying to convince myself this was home. Melissa clapped her hands softly behind me, her voice full of delight. "Dad, it's perfect," she said. "Just like you imagined." I nodded, lips pressed into a thin smile. The truth was, I didn't imagine this. Not like this. I had pictured a quiet little place by the lake, a spot for books and tomatoes and jazz on old speakers. But Diego had insisted. "Think of the resale value," he said. "Think long term." Then came the suggestion, put the house in Melissa's name. Less paperwork, less tax complications, smoother transition if anything happened to me. "You trust us, don't you?" Diego asked that day at the title office, his voice smooth as the leather on his briefcase. Melissa didn't say much then. She just placed a hand gently on my shoulder and whispered, "It's just easier this way, Dad." So I signed. Not once did I hesitate. I suppose I wanted to believe that love outweighed logic, that after 40 years of providing and building and staying, I had earned a bit of trust in return. Now in this echoing house, I wasn't so sure. Dinner that evening was full of laughter, mostly theirs. Melissa poured wine. Diego toasted to a new chapter for the man who taught us how to build. They spoke of hosting a housewarming party, inviting Diego's colleagues and Melissa's book club. I chewed slowly, listening, nodding. The pasta was undercooked. "This place," Melissa said between bites, "is the gift you gave yourself, Dad. And I hope you know how much we admire that." I smiled again. Thin, hollow. The same smile you give when a stranger compliments your shoes at a funeral. Later that night, I opened the safe I had installed in the walk-in closet, wanting to place the deed somewhere I could feel it, touch it, when I needed reassurance. The metal box creaked as I turned the dial, but before I could reach for the document envelope, Diego's voice floated in from the doorway. "No need, Dad. The originals are at the firm. Safer there, trust me." He leaned casually on the frame, sleeves rolled up, tie undone, like he owned the place. Like he belonged here more than I did. I didn't argue. I just nodded and closed the safe. Then I stood in the center of the master bedroom, my bedroom supposedly. The carpet was new, but the air felt stale. I held the house key in my hand again, rubbed its edges with my thumb. Sometime during the night, I walked to the kitchen, placed the key on the marble counter, and stared at it. Why did I feel like a guest in the very house I bought? They threw a party to celebrate the new home. I didn't realize I was one of the things being moved out. The house looked different that night, glossier, louder, somehow more distant. Strangers filled the halls holding wine glasses and complimenting the marble finishes I had never picked. Soft jazz played from hidden speakers, and every corner of the house had been staged like a magazine shoot. Melissa beamed at the entryway, greeting guests like a seasoned host. Diego moved among them with a glass of scotch, dropping legal humor that made the room chuckle. I stood near the staircase in a charcoal blazer watching. "Bordeaux or Pinot, Mr. Hampton?" a young server asked, offering a tray. "Bordeaux, please," I said with a polite smile, reaching for a glass, only for Diego to step in smoothly. "I got it," he said, plucking the glass and handing it off to someone else. "Dad, relax tonight. Just enjoy. Let the kids do the heavy lifting." I gave him a nod, though something in his tone scraped. A woman approached, eyeing the chandeliers. "Excuse me," she smiled. "You must be the owner. This ceiling detail, did you commission that design?" I opened my mouth only for Melissa to sweep in between us. "Oh, I actually picked the finish," she said, looping her arm through the woman's. "Come, I'll show you the kitchen island. We had it imported from Italy. I stayed rooted there." The woman didn't even glance back. It wasn't just that moment. It was the way people looked at me, polite but distant. Like I was someone's uncle flown in to admire the place, not the man who paid for every brick. Each time someone mentioned the homeowner, Diego would gently correct Melissa's vision, "Really brought it to life," or "My wife's taste is impeccable." Near the end of the night, a balding man in a navy suit clinked glasses with Melissa and then turned to me. "Bert Wright. So you're the guy who made this happen? Before I could answer, Diego chuckled. The house officially belongs to Melissa Hampton. Now he said, voice casual but firm. She's the one who signs the papers. I laughed lightly until I noticed Melissa's tight smile. She wasn't correcting him. She wasn't denying it. When the last guest left and the music finally faded, Diego returned with a suitcase. Hey, Pops, he said. We've been thinking, the house is going to be busy this week. Cleaners, deliveries, decorators. We booked a serviced apartment near downtown for you. Just for a while. Quieter. He handed me a key card and a small envelope. Melissa came behind him, eyes soft. It's just temporary, Dad. You said you needed some time to write. This will give you space. I looked down at the suitcase, my own luggage neatly packed, then back at them. I didn't say a word. They watched me leave like I was heading off on vacation. The street was silent. The house behind me still glowed with warm lights, laughter faintly echoing through its walls. I stood there for a long minute until the door clicked shut. Then I turned, got in the car, and drove toward downtown. The apartment building was older, tucked between a laundromat and a dental clinic. Faded bricks, narrow lobby. A man nodded at me in the hallway. Ray, his name would later turn out to be. But tonight we were just two strangers passing. Inside the unit was tidy but worn. The window latch stuck. A corner of the ceiling paint had peeled. I dropped my suitcase by the door, sat on the edge of the bed. It's just temporary, I told myself. Right, you can't fight what you don't know is happening. But now I knew. It started with a link. I had logged into my email that morning to check a warranty form and saw a message from the county's property database. It was routine, just a reminder about digital property records being updated. Curious, I clicked. My name wasn't there. I refreshed the page twice, then a third time. No Alfred Hampton in the ownership field. Only Melissa Hampton. It wasn't a typo. I closed the laptop slowly. The walls of the apartment felt tighter than usual, like they were pushing in. Ray found me in the hallway later, trying to breathe through the tension. You look like someone stole your dog, he said, half joking. I didn't laugh. Instead, I told him bits and pieces. The house, the papers, the sudden move. He didn't blink. You should talk to someone. There's a legal aid clinic down on Temple. They've got a lawyer named Sarah who helps seniors. Knows her stuff. That afternoon, I sat across from Sarah, a woman in her early 40s with short black curls, glasses, and a notepad filled with tidy bullet points. Her office smelled of old printer ink and peppermint tea. She took my folder, flipped through each document, and frowned slightly as she read. When did you sign these? She asked, lifting one page. A few weeks ago, I replied. At the house. Diego said it was a small update. Legal housekeeping. She looked at me over her glasses. Mr. Hampton, you signed a full property transfer and a binding relinquishment clause. This, she tapped a section, means you waived all current and future claims. Permanently. I felt something cold crawl up my spine. I didn't know, I said quietly. I believe you, she answered, but the law doesn't work on belief. She kept reading. This clause here, she continued, is especially clever. It's framed as a gift adjustment, a common term in estate planning. But paired with the rest, it's airtight. So I have no legal rights, I asked. Not without a fight, she said. But if you're ready to push back, I'm ready to help. I didn't speak for a moment. Just sat with the papers in my lap, scanning my own signature. I remembered the day I signed it. Sunlight coming through the bay windows. Melissa bringing lemonade. Diego handing me the pen like a waiter offering dessert. I had smiled that day. Now I couldn't feel my face. Sarah slid a new folder across the table. Start collecting anything that shows how decisions were made. Emails, receipts, anything you were told. And if you ever scan those documents before turning them over, that would help. I nodded slowly. There was something, an old USB drive I'd kept in a drawer. I used to scan everything out of habit, even things I didn't understand. I made a mental note to look through my mailbox when I got home. As I stood to leave, Sarah extended a business card. One more thing. I want you to meet someone, Tom. He's worked on cases like this. Quiet guy, but smart and thorough. I took the card, thanked her, and stepped into the hallway. The light had shifted outside late afternoon, slicing across the buildings. Back at the apartment, I slipped the card into my wallet, then walked to the mirror near the door. straightened my back, adjusted my tie. They don't know who I am, but they'll know soon enough. They thought they had buried the past, but all I had to do was follow the money. 2 weeks had passed since my meeting with Sarah. In that time, my one-bedroom apartment had transformed. The tiny kitchen table was now covered in notepads, highlighters, a secondhand printer, and stacks of files I never thought I'd need again. My coffee mug said, "Retired, not expired," a joke from Ray. I found it oddly fitting now. Tom sat across from me, laptop open, his fingers, moving like a concert pianist across the keys. He was quiet, late 30s, wiry and sharp. His eyes rarely blinked when focused. "You were right to come to us," he said, not looking up. "This wasn't just a name transfer. It's a full-scale shell operation." He turned the screen toward me. "Your name was used as collateral for a loan 3 months ago. A private lender, not a bank. Risky terms. Melissa signed, but the digital profile links to your old contact number and social security info. That's identity leverage." I stared at the screen. "She used me to secure a loan." Tom nodded, "and not a small one. 700,000. My jaw clenched. "For what?" "From what I can trace, the funds were funneled into a separate account. Then," he tapped a key, "used to buy shares in a crypto-backed real estate fund. The company doesn't exist anymore." Classic ghost shell. Sarah, who had just arrived, stepped inside holding a paper bag. "I brought food. You'll need it." She sat beside me and scanned the data on Tom's screen. Her brows lifted. "That's some serious exposure." I nodded slowly. "Is it enough to prove they manipulated me?" "Not yet," Sarah replied. "We need evidence showing you never consented. Something explicit." Tom raised a finger and smirked slightly. "I might have something." He reached into his backpack and pulled out an old battered phone. "Your old device. Ray had a guy help me recover data. Turns out you recorded a call with your bank, probably out of habit." He pressed play. My voice crackled through the speaker. "No, I never authorized that transaction." "What do you mean my property is listed as collateral?" "That's not possible. This is my home." Silence. Then the bank rep. "Mr. Hampton, the documentation shows digital authorization from your account. I don't use online banking. You must be mistaken." Sarah's eyes widened. "That's gold." She tapped her pen against her notepad. "Clear denial. And the call is time-stamped weeks before the transfer was finalized. This proves intent to deceive. It also raises red flags about digital fraud." Tom added, "We can get metadata for the voice file and cross-reference it with transaction logs." "Would it hold up in court?" I asked. "If we back it with enough digital evidence," Sarah said. "Yes. But I think we do more than go to court." She leaned forward. "We go public." I raised an eyebrow. Sarah explained, "There's a senior protection initiative on social media, HomeGuard. It shares stories of elderly financial abuse backed by lawyers. Ray's a moderator. We can post anonymously at first, get traction, attract the right eyes." Ray, as if on cue, knocked at the door with a flash drive in hand. "Got the last batch of docs you wanted," he said. Also, Melissa's name popped up in a flagged HomeGuard thread. "Looks like we're not the first." Tom whistled. "That helps. Pattern of behavior." I sat down, slowly absorbing it all. From helpless to here, this felt like movement. Sarah stood. "We'll map out a phased plan. Legal pressure, public exposure, and financial freeze. We hit them on all fronts." Tom turned back to his laptop. "And I'll keep digging. If I'm right, they're using your identity again, this time in a synthetic investment scheme. It's not just fraud now, it's a ticking bomb. They didn't put my name on the guest list. Then again, they didn't put it on the house either. It had been a month of quiet preparation. Ray, Tom, Sarah, and I had mapped out our playbook, one that didn't involve courtrooms, at least not yet. Tonight was about exposure. The gala was held at the Vista Royale, a towering hotel that smelled of money and ambition. Crystal chandeliers sparkled like smug grins above the crowd. Everyone who was anyone in the Southern California real estate scene was here, dressed in tailored suits and designer dresses, sipping imported wine and sharing secrets that wore tuxedos. I wore a charcoal gray suit, not new but pressed and clean. My tie was navy, simple, respectable. At my side stood Sarah in a black sheath dress, and Jenna from the Herald Tribune, a young journalist with a recorder in her clutch and fire in her eyes. Just stay calm, Mr. Hampton, Jenna whispered as we entered. Let them show their true selves. Across the room on the main stage stood Diego, polished, beaming. Melissa stood beside him, the perfect accessory, her smile brittle under the spotlights. And that's why Melissa Hampton and I are honored to be part of this new wave of real estate leadership, Diego said into the mic. Our latest venture is a testament to legacy, passing the torch from generation to generation. I stepped forward. A hush fell. Legacy, I said, just loud enough to echo. All heads turned. Diego froze mid-sentence. Melissa's hand dropped from his arm. Is that what you call it, convincing your father-in-law to sign away the house he bought, then evicting him to make room for your investments? Murmurs rippled across the ballroom. Phones were raised. Cameras clicked. Diego's face flushed a dangerous red. Bo, this isn't the place. But it was the place to lie, wasn't it, I said. The place to parade stolen feathers like they were your own. Melissa took a step back. Diego stammered. You don't understand the legal. Sarah stepped forward. Actually, we do. Mr. Hampton's financial information was used without consent to secure a loan for a fraudulent investment. We have evidence, audio files, documented timelines, and witnesses. Jenna calmly took the mic from a stunned event manager. Mr. Diego Torres, she said, facing him. Can you confirm that all assets associated with your company and your wife were obtained through fully legal means and not by misusing the identity or property of Mr. Alfred Hampton? Diego's jaw clenched. I refuse to engage with these baseless accusations. Melissa whispered something to him, her voice trembling. Jenna didn't flinch. We'll be publishing a story tomorrow morning. We invite you to comment before then. Transparency, after all, is the cornerstone of trust in real estate. Someone in the crowd chuckled. Another murmured, I heard something about that house last week. Diego reached for Melissa's hand. She pulled away. Alfred Hampton had officially returned from the dead. The next morning, the headline blazed across the Herald Tribune's digital front page, evicted from his own home. Father accuses daughter and son-in-law of property scheme. Beneath it, a photo of me steady, unsmiling, standing beside Sarah and Jenna as Diego pointed off camera in frustration. Melissa was half turned away, her face unreadable. My inbox was flooded. Community boards, home guard groups. Former colleagues who thought I had retired into peace now reached out with disbelief and support. But it was Jenna's message that stuck. Subject, exclusive follow-up. Body, would you be open to a one-on-one interview? People need to hear your side before they try to erase it again. It only took a signature to lose everything. Now one more would bring it all back. The courtroom was smaller than I expected. No grand halls, no thundering gavel, just a rectangular space with white walls, metal benches, and a judge who looked as tired as the rest of us. But what mattered wasn't the room. It was the reckoning inside it. Diego sat 3 seats away from Melissa. He looked thinner, less polished. His tie was crooked. She wore gray knot designer. And for the first time, her hands weren't folded around his. I didn't look at them. I didn't need to. Sarah stood next to me, papers neatly clipped in front of her, her tone crisp but not theatrical. Your Honor, she began, we are not seeking vengeance, only justice. The defendant, Mr. Hampton, unknowingly signed a forged power of attorney. The evidence will show this document was used to secure fraudulent loans, transfer property, and manipulate financial assets without his consent. She handed over a flash drive. The judge inserted it into the laptop on his bench. A recording played. No, I never approved that transaction. What do you mean my house is collateral? My voice, tired, confused, but unmistakably refusing. The judge paused. This is your voice, Mr. Hampton. I nodded. Yes, sir. Then Sarah brought out the forensics report. The signature on the transfer papers had been lifted from an old tax document. Melissa's signature as witness, added after the fact. Diego leaned in to whisper something to her. She pulled back. Silent. Jenna rose from the back of the courtroom holding up her press badge. Your Honor, I request permission to submit supplemental documentation to support the plaintiff's case. The judge allowed it. Jenna placed a file on the bench, bank statements showing hidden accounts, intercepted communications between Diego and a known shell corporation, and a video interview with Ray. On screen, Ray said he promised to help me refinance. Said he'd take care of the paperwork. I didn't know until I was out on the street. He used my property to secure another investment. By now, the courtroom was tense. The judge glanced at Melissa. Mrs. Hampton, do you have anything to say regarding your involvement? Her lips parted slightly, then closed. No, Your Honor. The silence was louder than Diego's defense. After a recess, the ruling came swiftly. This court orders the immediate reinstatement of property rights for Mr. Alfred Hampton. The home at 421 Elm Grove Road is to be returned to his sole ownership. An injunction is granted against Diego Torres and Melissa Hampton regarding the use of any financial instruments in Mr. Hampton's name. A criminal investigation into organized financial misconduct will proceed. Diego shouted, "This is ridiculous. I built that legacy." Two marshals approached. Melissa stared straight ahead, unmoving, as Diego was handcuffed in front of the courtroom. I stood up, adjusted my cuffs, walked past them without a word. Outside, the press swarmed. Jenna gently waved them back. "You okay?" she asked. I nodded. "I'm not angry anymore. Just ready to go home." But I didn't go home. Instead, I stood in front of the house. 421 Elm Grove Road. The lawn was overgrown. The lights were off. The silence felt heavier than it used to. I slid the key into the lock. It turned easily. I didn't walk inside. They took my name, my roof, my faith and family, but they never took me. I left the key in the door, turned around. The headline the next day read, "Senior Defrauded by Daughter Wins Justice in Landmark Case Community Rallies Truth Prevails." Jenna's piece went viral. She won an award for investigative journalism that fall. The Home Guard community, once just a corner of the internet, offered me something else entirely, a position as an advisor. Someone who'd been through it and came out whole. I sold the house, took the money and funded a program that protected other seniors from falling victim to the same kind of betrayal. Because justice isn't just about reclaiming what was stolen, it's about making sure it doesn't happen again. If you enjoyed this story, don't forget to like, share, subscribe, and comment your thoughts below. Type 1 if you resonate with this story.